Good morning, motivators. Bit of a different video here today because we need to talk about a bit of a new direction that you're about to see with the channel. Over the last, I would say actually 3 years almost, a lot of you might have noticed that A, I haven't raced in coming up on 3 years this September, and B, the channel has kind of been a little aimless. I've been a little aimless, but now for the first time in 3 years, we have something new. We have a new direction. We have a new thing coming up and a new bunch of content, and something that I think is important to leave behind and provide to the endurance world that I'm really excited about, that I want to share with you here, and where we're going with this and why I think it might be worth sticking around, or if it just isn't for you, maybe why you should move on. So we're gonna just kind of bare my soul a little bit here with you about where we're going. My name is Taren. In my 20s, I was overweight, unfulfilled, and couldn't even run to the end of the block. Over the following years, I found endurance sports, lost 65 pounds, won age groups, raced world championships, broke records, and trained and learned from some of the best athletes and coaches in the world. You too can use endurance sports to change your life and accomplish your fitness goals. You just need a system that's meant for us amateurs who want to be our best while feeling our strongest and healthiest. My company MōTTIV offers that system, and I want to share some of the tips from it today. So when I started putting out YouTube videos 7.5 years ago, it was just for a hobby. It was just to have a creative outlet where I could do something other than being an investment advisor, which I really wasn't happy doing. And it grew more than I ever expected. And around about 75, 100 videos in, my wife, Kim, said, "Hey, you've been doing some beginner videos lately. That's really helping. The messages that you're getting on social media and in the comments of those videos is working really well." And like all of a sudden I started getting so much fulfillment out of this and realizing like, hey, there's an entire group of people out there that feel ignored because so much of the content in the world is built for athletes that are already pretty fast, and it's about how to make them faster. Not just the basic entry level, how do you start becoming an endurance athlete? And then about 1.5 or 2 years into doing YouTube videos, I started doing a daily vlog. And the daily vlog was about my day, but it was also what am I learning, and then what can people learn alongside with me? And I was racing, so there were all kinds of new races and like storylines of build-ups to races. And that's what grew the channel. I think we started doing daily vlogs at something like video 175, and I did that for 2.5 years, and that's when we grew from, I think, 3,000 subscribers all the way up to 90,000 subscribers or so by the very final daily vlog that I did 2.5 years later. And that was super exciting. It was really fun, but over the course of that, the entire intention was helping more people get into endurance sports, helping inspire more people, give more people tools that were going to help them to be able to change their life. Because I felt that changing my life was the best thing that ever happened in my life. It gave me the confidence to leave my job as an investment advisor, to start this business, to take on athletic challenges like marathon swims and Ironmans and half Ironmans that I never thought possible. I never thought I'd be able to go under 10 hours in an Ironman. I did it in my first. I never thought I'd be able to go under 5 hours in a half Ironman. I went all the way down to 4:28 and qualified for world championships. Super exciting, and I wanted other people to be able to feel that excitement and that fulfillment. And the intention was always, how do I help people get that motivation, that self-confidence, and that belief that they can change their life too? So then the pandemic happened, and I had this bit of an existential crisis of like, well, what do I do? I was known as Triathlon Taren. There are no triathlons to do. I'm not racing. Other people aren't racing, so what am I going to tell them to do? So the content, it felt a little pointless. It felt disingenuous for me to be like, all right, hey, let's go out there and stay motivated throughout this pandemic because races are going to come back. And I was feeling really unmotivated. I was feeling like I wasn't being honest with you at the time. That was super emotionally painful to feel like I needed to be the motivator but not be motivated myself. And throughout the course of the pandemic, I gained that motivation again, but because there wasn't races for me to do, where I got that motivation was I always looked at what is a challenge that intimidates you, that scares you, that you're not quite certain if you can do. The challenge that really inspired me and scared me was to build a brand, to build MōTTIV and build something that was bigger than me, bigger and more important than just my story in triathlon. Even in the last 18 months since we launched MōTTIV, I've been very uncertain about how do I transition from the guy who raced and provided motivation in the form of racing and lessons that I gained throughout my racing to how do we continue to create content and motivate people when I'm not racing without it just feeling like I'm talking at people. So I've had a couple of years of thinking like, okay, we've got this big megaphone, this big following in endurance sports, and how do we actually make that something that is beneficial to the endurance sports world? And finally now, I think we actually have a vision about where we go with this. So what I've realized over the past year, 2 years in particular, as the awareness about cultural differences and representation and the realities that people other than very privileged white people face day to day. And what I believe is that everyone deserves the right to change their lives and live a more fulfilling life through endurance sports. How the internet works is just naturally people tend to gravitate towards and follow those people who look like themselves. And who is most present in endurance sports? 30 to 50-year-old privileged white people. And the vast majority of people who are on magazines and covers and in podcasts and on the face of this YouTube channel are very privileged white people. And unless you are fast, sexy, or rich, you tend not to get a whole lot of play. But that's not the reality. Every single person out there wants to live a better and more fulfilled life and is aspiring for more things. But what they need is role models that they can look at and say, hey, that person there looks, sounds, acts like me, has a similar background, and if they're doing it, I bet I could do it too. But I can't be the motivating person to everyone out there because I don't look like everyone out there. I can't be a representative for moms, for people of color, for people with low income, people that are 300 or 400 pounds, heavier athletes, athletes with physical disabilities. But that doesn't mean that we can't use what we've built here to affect the endurance world and help inspire and open up the endurance world to those people. So the thing that I'm announcing here is something called the MōTTIV MōVERS. And this is similar to an ambassador program where we are going to partner with well-known people out there in the endurance world. So as opposed to a traditional ambassador program where we say, hey, here's a bunch of gear and now promote our brand, instead what we're doing is we are intentionally partnering with people who you could look at and say, you know what, I bet you several years ago, they doubted that they would be able to do this. And we're intentionally trying to find a very broad spectrum of people, heavier athletes, moms, people with different backgrounds, different demographics from different countries, from different socioeconomic statuses, different types of people, and we are going to create content with them. A lot of the content that we do here will be less about strictly me or strictly my thoughts to teach you, and more about what are all of the stories out there from all the different people out there that you wouldn't necessarily think would have gotten to endurance sports, but they are in endurance sports, they're changing their lives with endurance sports, and they're having a great time doing it. And the content is going to be with and around them. We're gonna change the content and start making it easier for all different types of people to find their people where they can look at them and go, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. Let's show the actual demographics, the actual people that are making up the majority of the field to inspire so many more people out there. And I suppose I just wanted to open up and say, if you felt that maybe I've been less passionate about endurance sports, I would agree with you in a sense. Floundering, yeah, like I wasn't sure what this whole thing, this relationship that we had between me and the lens that represents all of you out there would actually turn into after the pandemic and after my focus has shifted so much towards helping other people get to races as opposed to me getting to races. But that's not at all to say that I'm not passionate about endurance sports. What I am not passionate about is I'm not passionate about just mindlessly going and suffering, because I think that's exclusionary to people. When we start doing nothing but portraying online that we're training 10, 12, 15 hours, it's nothing but hard work, it's so hard. And every one of us is guilty of this because that's what we want to show, is like the hard work that we've done so that we get recognized for it and it helps motivate us to continue on. But I think the people outside of endurance sports who might consider getting into the sport, it becomes intimidating because they go, wow, that is going to be so many hours. That's so hard to do. I definitely can't fit it in. I think that we need to make it more acceptable for people to think, hey, if I can train 4 to 5 hours a week, maybe I'm not going to be a world champion athlete at the start, but I might be able to go and do that half marathon that I never thought I could do. But we need to, I think, as a community, be better at showing that this is accessible for all different types of people, that it isn't just about huge training hours and PBs, it's about being a better version of yourself. And that better version of yourself might be just going from the couch to doing a 5K or running for a kilometer continuously. And that better version of yourself also might be going from local podiums to trying to be on international Ironman level podiums or qualifying for a world championship. And there is nothing wrong with either end of the spectrum or anything in between, as long as you are trying to be a better version of yourself in a balanced and healthy way. That's what we want. And we are launching, I think the very next piece of content that you're going to see is with first MōTTIV Mover. We're launching with, I think, 6 to 7 MōTTIV Movers. Ashley Henkamp, who is a mom of 4, she is a teacher, very busy lady. Jonathan Perez, who was over 300 pounds and still doing triathlons and endurance sports. Milo James from Underestimated, who is a person of color and just a very positive vibe out there in the running community. Jillian Roberts, who is recovering from cancer, has a couple of times before and has always focused on what can she do, not what can't she do. Kevin and Lauren from Our Triathlon Journey, who still to this day doubt that they would be able to do some of the things that they're doing, but they still take them on and challenge themselves with a smile, regardless of what time they actually do the race in. And there's Joanne Courtney, who's kind of a bit of a interesting thing out there because she is a world-class athlete, tremendously fit athlete, but when I started talking to her about doing triathlon, she seriously doubted that she'd be able to do it. So taking those lessons of somebody like Joanne, who on the surface should be confident, but showing the vulnerabilities that, hey, it's okay to doubt yourself and you can get through these processes. This is who we're launching with as the MōTTIV Movers. You can go check them out. Links to all their profiles are in the description below. But I don't want to just limit it at telling you what we're doing. I want to involve you here. So what I want to ask from you is, who inspires you out there? Who is somebody that you can look at and say, I bet you several years ago they doubted that they would be able to do this, but they're doing it. Maybe not necessarily fast or slow, but just somebody who you would go, you know what, they're just a regular person that is out there spreading a fantastic vibe. And this is the type of person that we don't always hear from. I want you to comment below with who you think that we should try to involve in the MōTTIV Movers. Who do you think we should try to feature more? You can DM me on Instagram, you can comment in this video below, and we'll reach out to them and start featuring more of these stories to start giving a bigger voice to the underrepresented people in endurance sports. We want to help other people live this fantastic, fulfilling, exciting, fit, healthy life that we all know as endurance athletes, and we need to help grow that pie as opposed to just focusing on the existing people in it. So that's what's up. If that doesn't sound at all interesting to you and you came here for me racing, years ago and you're expecting me to get back into racing, it's probably not gonna happen for a while because I'm focused on our brand and helping other people get to races. That's the exciting part. I think just going and doing more races, it's more of the same. It's more of a 30 to 50-year-old white male going out there trying to be fast. And the best thing that we can do for our sport and for our community is show all the different faces and backgrounds of our sport. I hope you stick around, but if you don't, I completely respect that because things have changed a lot in the last 7.5 years. People evolve, I've evolved, and I hope that where we're going with this is evolving to something much bigger than just me telling the tale of me racing more, and it starts telling the tale of all the great things that average people are doing exceptionally. Thank you for watching, Motivators. If you're looking for a training plan that incorporates these methods that is as good as a one-on-one coach but as inexpensive as doing it yourself, check out our MōTTIV training app that covers triathlons, running races, duathlons, swim runs, and cycling events. The link in the description below where you can check out your customized training plan for free. Also, if you'd rather listen to these tips, we also publish these videos in podcast format on the Taren's MōTTIV Method podcast, so you can check that out. And if you don't want to do either of those things, but you found this video helpful, hit us up with a virtual high five by smashing the like button below. Later, Motivators.